The research vessel Astral Seeker drifted silently in the shadow of asteroid KB 2994, its adaptive camouflage rendering it invisible to primitive human scanning technology. Senior researcher Zixtal adjusted his sensory appendages, studying the mining operation that sprawled across the asteroid's cratered surface with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Remarkable how they survive it all, he commented to his research partner, Valiner, whose crystalline form sparkled under the soft bioluminescent lighting of their observation deck. Look at their environmental suits, barely more than fabric and plastic. One tear and they'd be exposed to vacuum. Valner's crystalline structure vibrated in what passed for amusement among the Centaurians. Their whole species seems to exist on the edge of disaster. Did you know they require constant oxygen flow to their brains? Even a few minutes without it causes permanent damage. The human mining operation below was a testament to their species' stubborn refusal to accept limitations. Huge drilling rigs pierced the asteroid's surface, extracting rare earth elements crucial to their primitive space program. Workers in their flimsy environmental suits moved between pressurized habitation modules connected by transparent tubes that looked fragile enough to shatter at a touch. Zixtal's sensors suddenly registered a concerning spike in solar activity. His primary hearts quickened as he processed the data. Valiner, look at these readings. A massive solar storm is building. It will hit this sector in approximately 6 hours. Valiner analyzed the data, her crystalline structure dimming with concern. Their shields won't withstand that level of radiation. Their electronics will fail. They'll lose life support. Should we warn them? Zixtal's appendages wavered uncertainly. Their mission was strictly observation, studying how less advanced species handled crisis situations. Direct interference was forbidden. No, Valner decided after a moment's calculation. This is an excellent opportunity to document their emergency response protocols. Besides, their own instruments must be detecting the building storm. Let's see how they handle it. But as the hours passed, the human activity below continued normally. Their primitive sensors hadn't detected the approaching danger. Zixtal felt his ethical subroutines conflicting with his scientific programming. They're not evacuating, he noted, anxiety creeping into his usually modulated tones. They have no idea what's coming. Fascinating, Valner responded, her scientific detachment unwavering. Perhaps this will finally demonstrate why their species isn't ready for official contact. Their technology is simply too primitive for successful space colonization. The first tendrils of the solar storm were now visible to the Astral Seeker's enhanced sensors, reaching across space like ghostly fingers. Below 342 humans continued their work, completely unaware that they were about to face a catastrophe that would challenge everything their alien observers thought they knew about the limits of human endurance. Zixtal made one final log entry before the storm hit, beginning observation of human emergency response protocols. Prediction: complete evacuation or total loss of life within 2 hours of storm impact. Final note: subject species displays remarkable determination despite obvious technological inadequacies. He had no way of knowing just how wrong those predictions would prove to be. The solar storm struck with devastating force. The first electromagnetic pulse knocked out the mining facility's primary communications array, sending cascading failures through their power grid. Zixtal and Valiner watched from their shielded observation post as darkness swept across the asteroid's surface, module by module. Initial impact as predicted, Valiner noted, her crystalline structure pulsing with scientific interest. Human technology proving inadequate to withstand basic stellar phenomena. Beginning countdown to evacuation protocol. But the scene unfolding below defied their expectations. Instead of panic, they witnessed an explosion of coordinated activity. Emergency lights flickered on across the facility, bathing the structures in a red glow. Human figures moved with purpose between buildings, their helmet lights creating streams of illumination in the darkness. A voice crackled through their monitoring systems. Station Chief Sarah Chen, they'd learned from previous observations. Her tone was steady despite the chaos erupting around her. All personnel, this is not a drill. We have multiple system failures. Implement emergency protocol Delta 7 immediately. Remarkable, Zixtal murmured, his sensory appendages twitching as he recorded the human's life signs. Their stress hormones are elevated, yet they maintain organizational coherence. Through their high-resolution feeds, they watched a team of engineers sprint to the main power distribution hub. The humans worked with practiced efficiency, rerouting power through backup systems. When a power coupling exploded in a shower of sparks, one engineer pulled another to safety, applied emergency sealant to a torn suit, then immediately returned to work. Their disregard for personal safety is either admirable or foolish, Valner observed, her tone suggesting she leaned toward the latter. The radiation levels were climbing rapidly. The aliens' instruments registered dangerous exposure levels that should have already begun causing severe biological damage to human tissue. Yet the workers showed no signs of retreating to their radiation shelters. Chief Chen, a voice called over the emergency channel. Primary life support is failing in HAB Module 3. Backup systems won't last more than an hour in this radiation. Understood. Jackson, get your team to environmental control. Martinez, I need those secondary power couplings online. Everyone else, continue essential operations only. We're not losing anyone today. Valner's crystalline form flickered with confusion. They must realize their situation is untenable. The radiation alone. She fell silent as they watched a team of humans physically drag a massive backup generator across the facility's surface, fighting against failing artificial gravity. When one worker stumbled, another immediately took their place, the group adapting seamlessly to maintain their momentum. Their behavior defies conventional crisis response models, Zixtal noted, his scientific detachment wavering. Look at their vital signs. Elevated heart rates, dangerous cortisol levels, clear indicators of physical distress, yet they continue functioning. In HAB Module 3, engineers worked frantically to repair the life support systems. When their power tools failed, they switched to manual alternatives. When those broke, they improvised new tools from available materials. The aliens watched in astonishment as the humans daisy-chained their suit oxygen supplies, sharing resources to buy more time for repairs. Chief, another voice crackled through the comm system. Radiation shielding is down to 15% in Section 7. We've got people trapped in there. I'm on my way, Chen responded without hesitation. The aliens tracked her life signs as she sprinted across the facility's surface, her own suit's radiation warning blaring audibly through their feeds. She's exceeding recommended radiation exposure limits, Valner noted with clinical interest. By our models, she should be experiencing severe cognitive impairment. Yet Chen's voice remained clear as she coordinated the rescue effort, her decision-making showing no signs of deterioration. The aliens watched as she helped organize a human chain, passing trapped workers through a narrow maintenance shaft to safety. Valner, Zixtal said slowly, his appendages waving in agitation. I believe we may need to revise our assessment protocols. These humans, they're not acting according to any of our established models for primitive species under crisis. A massive power surge ripped through the facility's remaining systems. Sparks flew from junction boxes and emergency sirens wailed. The situation was deteriorating rapidly, but the humans showed no signs of surrender. If anything, their coordination seemed to improve as conditions worsened. All teams. Chen's voice cut through the chaos. We've got 90 minutes before total system failure. Everyone we save today goes home to their families. Now let's show this storm what humans are made of. The aliens exchanged glances as human cheers echoed through their monitoring systems. They were about to witness something that would challenge every assumption they'd ever made about the capabilities of primitive species. The mining facility's situation grew increasingly dire as the solar storm intensified. Zixtal and Valner watched in fascination as the humans faced what should have been insurmountable challenges with remarkable adaptability. In the main control center, Chief Chen's voice remained steady despite the growing crisis. Report status on critical systems. Life support failing in modules 4 through 7. Martins responded, his fingers flying across a backup terminal. Main computers fried. Running on emergency processors, but they're overheating. Radiation levels still climbing. Through their observation instruments, the aliens watched Chen process this information. Her vital signs showed extreme stress, yet her decision-making remained remarkably clear. Implement Protocol Omega, she ordered. Shut down all non-essential systems. Martinez, give me manual control of the radiation shields. We'll cycle them between modules. Buy us some time. Valnir's crystalline structure pulsed with surprise. They're adapting their technology beyond its intended parameters. The computational load alone should overwhelm their backup systems. But the humans had already anticipated this problem. Teams of engineers manually coordinated the shield cycling, using nothing more sophisticated than handheld radios and synchronized chronometers. When digital displays failed, they switched to analog backups. When those failed, they counted seconds out loud, working in perfect synchronization. Look at this, Zixtal indicated a group of workers in Module 6. They're using their bodies as conductors to bridge damaged power circuits. The radiation exposure. We've got wounded in HAB Module 2. The voice crackled through the emergency channel. Medical supplies running low. Dr. Sarah Zhang's response came immediately. I'm synthesizing more anti-radiation meds. Anyone with O-negative blood report to medical. We're doing emergency transfusions. The aliens observed in astonishment as humans voluntarily lined up to donate blood despite their own radiation exposure and exhaustion. Those too weak to work elsewhere served as human IV stands, holding precious bags of plasma. Their social cohesion is extraordinary, Valnir noted. Each individual seems to instinctively understand their role in the collective survival effort. In the engineering section, Jackson's team faced a critical problem. The backup generators were failing, and replacement parts had been destroyed in the initial surge. The aliens expected them to finally admit defeat. Instead, they watched as the humans began cannibalizing their own personal equipment. Helmet cameras were dismantled for their power cells. Personal communication devices were stripped for crucial components. Even off-duty entertainment systems were scavenged for parts. Chief, Jackson reported, we've built a jury-rigged power converter. It's not pretty, but it should buy us another 2 hours. Their technological improvisation exceeds all predicted capabilities, Zixtal observed, his appendages waving in excitement. They're creating solutions our simulations indicated were impossible with their level of technology. A violent tremor shook the facility as another solar flare hit. Warning sirens blared as structural integrity dropped to critical levels in several modules. The aliens watched as humans braced themselves against walls and equipment, but not a single one abandoned their post. All hands, Shen's voice cut through the chaos. We've got hairline fractures forming in the main habitat ring. We need to seal them before we lose pressure. The response was immediate. Teams of welders moved along the hull, their magnetic boots keeping them anchored as they worked to reinforce weakening seams. When their welding equipment began to fail, they improvised torches using mining equipment never designed for such delicate work. Impossible, Valnir whispered as they watched humans working in spaces barely large enough for their bodies, making repairs that should have required specialized equipment. Their manual dexterity in those primitive environmental suits. Look, Zixtal interrupted, indicating a group of miners who had begun using their excavation knowledge to predict where the next structural weaknesses would appear. They moved preemptively, reinforcing sections before they could fail. The aliens' monitoring equipment continued to show deteriorating conditions throughout the facility. Radiation levels were now well beyond what their models indicated humans could survive. Emergency power was failing. Life support systems were operating far outside their design parameters. Yet the humans continued to adapt, to innovate, to survive. When standard solutions failed, they created new ones. When equipment broke down, They rebuilt it better. When conventional wisdom said something couldn't be done, they simply found another way. All teams, Chen announced, her voice showing the first signs of strain but no hint of surrender. We've got more incoming solar activity. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. We didn't come all the way to space to let a little radiation stop us. The aliens shared a look of growing respect as they watched the humans laugh. Actually laugh, in the face of what should have been certain doom. They were about to witness even more extraordinary demonstrations of human resilience as the crisis reached its peak. 8 hours into what should have been a catastrophic failure, the mining facility still functioned. Barely. The astral seeker's sensors registered conditions that, according to every scientific model, should have rendered the station uninhabitable. Yet somehow, the humans persisted. Their life signs shouldn't be possible, Valner observed, her crystalline structure flickering with agitation. These radiation levels, the physical exhaustion, the psychological stress, they should have succumbed hours ago. Through their monitors, they watched Chief Chen stumble, catching herself against a wall. Her environmental suit's diagnostic readings flashed critical warnings across their screens. The suit had been operating far beyond its design limits, its radiation shielding deteriorating with each passing hour. Chief, Dr. Zhang's voice crackled through the comm. Your readings are critical. You need to get to medical now. Negative, Chen responded, her voice hoarse but determined. We've got structural failures in Module 8. They need every hand they can get. The aliens watched as she pushed herself away from the wall, moving with deliberate purpose toward the crisis zone. Her vital signs painted a horrifying picture. Elevated heart rate, dangerous blood pressure, cellular damage from radiation exposure. Yet she continued to function, to lead. Their physical resilience defies explanation. Zixtal noted, his scientific detachment crumbling as he watched humans work through injuries that should have been debilitating. Look at Martinez. He's got 3 broken fingers and severe radiation burns, but he's still coordinating the power distribution network. A massive solar flare suddenly erupted, more powerful than any they'd seen yet. The facility's remaining shields flickered and failed. Warning sirens blared through every module as critical systems began to shut down one after another. All hands. Chen's voice cut through the chaos. We've lost main shields. Auxiliary power is gone. Life support running on emergency reserves only. She paused, and the aliens leaned forward, expecting her to finally give the evacuation order. Instead, she continued, we've got maybe 30 minutes before total system failure, so let's make them count. The response from her crew stunned their observers. Instead of panic or resignation, the humans showed a surge of renewed determination. Teams reorganized on the fly, prioritizing the most critical repairs. Those who could no longer work due to injuries served as human relay points, passing tools and information between groups. They're using their bodies to shield sensitive equipment from radiation, Valner noted with disbelief as they watched a group of engineers huddle around a crucial power relay. The cellular damage they're sustaining. In the medical bay, Dr. Zhang worked tirelessly despite her own deteriorating condition. When the last of the anti-radiation medications ran out, she began improvising treatments using mining chemicals and basic medical supplies. The alien sensors indicated the treatments shouldn't have worked, yet somehow they kept people functioning. Jackson's voice suddenly crackled through the emergency channel. Chief, I think we got something. The mining laser. If we reverse the polarity and tie it into the remaining shield generators, the power requirements would be enormous, Chen responded, already moving toward his location. We can do it, Jackson insisted, but we'll need to manually align the emitters. Outside the facility, the aliens watched in stunned silence as Chen processed this information. The space outside the facility was now bathed in lethal radiation. Even their heavily shielded observation post was struggling to maintain integrity. How many people do you need? Chen asked without hesitation. 3. But Chief, the radiation exposure. will kill us slightly faster than doing nothing. Chen finished. I'm on my way. Martins, Yang, suit up. Everyone else, hold this place together for just a little longer. Zixtal's appendages waved in agitation as they watched three humans prepare to step into what amounted to a solar inferno. They cannot seriously be attempting this. The radiation levels alone. Their probability of survival is virtually zero. Valner agreed, her crystalline structure dimming with what might have been concern. Yet they watched as Chen, Martinez, and Yang emerged onto the asteroid's surface. The storm raged around them, bathing them in deadly radiation. Their suit sensors screamed warnings, their systems failing one by one. But step by step, they moved toward the mining laser, carrying the equipment needed to modify it. This is beyond mere determination, Zixtal whispered. This is something we've never seen before. Inside the facility, the remaining crew fought to keep critical systems running. When life support began to fail in Module 3, they manually cranked emergency oxygen systems. When hull breaches threatened to decompress entire sections, they sealed them with their own environmental suits, working in the vacuum with nothing but emergency rebreathers. The aliens monitored everything, their previous assumptions about human capabilities crumbling with each passing moment. They were about to witness either humanity's finest hour or their most noble end. And they were no longer certain which to expect. On the asteroid's surface, three human figures moved through a storm of deadly radiation, their environmental suits deteriorating with each passing second. Chief Chen, Martinez, and Yang reached the mining laser, their helmet cameras transmitting their vital signs to both their crew and their unseen observers. Their core temperatures are approaching critical, Valner reported, her crystalline structure pulsing with unprecedented concern. Cell death has begun in their peripheral tissues. They cannot possibly complete this task before. Ready on my mark. Chen's voice cut through their analysis, steady despite her body's failing condition. Martinez, begin power reroute. Yang, prepare for laser realignment. The aliens watched in astonishment as the three humans worked with precision, despite their deteriorating physical state. When Martinez's hands shook too badly to connect power couplings, Yang braced them. When Yang stumbled, Chen caught him. They functioned not as individuals fighting their body's limitations, but as a single organism adapting to overcome them. Inside the facility, the situation reached its breaking point. Life support failed in 3 more modules. Emergency power dropped to critical levels. The remaining crew, many barely conscious from radiation exposure and exhaustion, continued their desperate efforts to keep essential systems running. Zixtal, Valner said suddenly, her tone carrying an emotion their species rarely expressed. Uncertainty. Our non-interference protocols are based on the assumption that we understand the species we're observing, Zixtal finished. His appendages wavered as he watched Chen's life signs approach terminal levels. I believe we may have made a grave error in our assessment of humanity. On the surface, Chen's team completed the final connections. Internal teams, stand by, she ordered, her voice growing weaker. Preparing to activate modified shield array. This is probably going to be a bit rough. The aliens' instruments registered a massive power surge as the mining laser activated. Its beam reversed and split through the jury-rigged shield generators. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then their sensors detected something extraordinary. They've created a magnetic containment field, Valner announced in disbelief. Using mining equipment and shield technology never designed for this purpose, they've actually constructed a makeshift magnetosphere. The storm's intensity against the facility began to decrease. The deadly radiation levels started to drop. Somehow, impossibly, the humans' desperate gambit was working. But the 3 outside hadn't moved to safety. Their vital signs were critical, their suits almost completely failed. Yet they remained at their posts, manually adjusting the field strength as needed. Get inside, Jackson urged over the comm. The field is holding. You've done it. Need to, Maintain alignment, Chen responded, her words slurring. Autocontrols. Fried. Have to. Hold position. It was at this moment that Zixtal made a decision that would change the course of human-alien relations forever. This has gone beyond scientific observation, he declared. We are now witnessing the potential extinction of beings who have proven themselves far more advanced than our models suggested. Valnir's crystalline structure flashed in alarm. The protocols were wrong, Zixtal stated firmly. As wrong as our assumptions about human capabilities. Prepare for emergency intervention. The astral seeker decloaked above the mining facility, its advanced shields extending to encompass the structure and the 3 humans on the surface. Chen's team, barely conscious, registered the massive ship's appearance with what the aliens' emotional sensors detected as surprisingly little shock. Well, Chen managed through failing systems. Took you long enough to say hello. The rescue operation that followed would be documented in both human and alien archives as a turning point in galactic history. The Astral Seeker's medical bay, designed for multiple species, saved the lives of all 342 humans. Their advanced technology repaired the facility's systems within hours, but it was the data collected during the crisis that had the most profound impact on galactic society. The humans' display of determination, innovation, and especially their capacity for self-sacrifice to protect others, forced the galactic community to completely reassess their criteria for advanced civilizations. In the ship's medical bay, as Chen recovered, Zixtal approached her with what his species considered a formal apology. "We should have warned you about the storm," he began. "We believed your species too primitive to survive it. We were wrong on multiple levels." Chen, already planning improvements to the facility's systems based on what she'd glimpsed of alien technology, merely smiled. "You know what humans do when someone tells us we're too primitive for something?" she asked. "Based on our observations," Valnir responded, her crystalline form glowing with newfound respect. "You prove them wrong, usually in ways that defy all logical explanation." "That's humanity for you," Chen agreed. "Now about those shield generators of yours." The official first contact protocols were thoroughly rewritten after the incident. The new guidelines included a special notation about humanity. Never assume their limitations. They certainly don't.